All right, I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting on Monday, February 5th, 2018. If we're ready.
Close.
Did you get that, I wonder? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Berman?
Here.
Trustee Gafino?
Here.
Trustee Lowry?
Here.
Trustee Curtis? Here. And Trustee Gately?
Here.
We'll go straight to discussion. It's item number 1, a strategic plan update, and Mr. Bosco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only one item on the agenda tonight. It's about the strategic plan. We want to get it finalized so that we can bring it back to the board and have it in place. Instead of going through every single goal in our plan, we attached an attachment in your packet that basically we color-coded everything. So any of the objectives or goals that were changed through our workshop and our discussion is in red. Anything that was added, anything that was removed is in red. Everything that was added is in green, so that'd be new. And anything in purple is anything that was already existing, but the language was modified because it didn't. We needed to change it to make sense more than maybe it does now than it did before. That being said, the other discussion, that's in your packet. If you have any questions about any of the goals that are as written, please let's have that conversation now so we can amend those if need be. In the meantime, the other thing we had was we were talking about doing a vision statement. And as part of our branding initiative, I didn't want to mix the two together, but the vision and the branding statement are pretty similar. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to create a 1 or 2 or 3 sentence, not motto, if you will, but something for the village that is something that we always want to achieve. So something that we're always going to work towards. So that would be the difference between a vision and a mission statement. A mission statement, which would be more of what your core values in place are, what you're always working every day on, the types of things you provide. Whereas the vision statement is more of the things you want the community to become and what you want to be known for in the future. And so that being said, the board had come up with one that they said, okay, here's one, and then the staff go back and maybe add a couple in for us to look at, and we can go back and forth and see if we want to tweak them at all. The one that was mentioned at the workshop was where people, business, transportation, recreation, and opportunity converge. So you have to put it in a vision statement. It's where we want to be known that people, businesses, recreation, transportation, where all of it comes together. That's what we want to be known for. The staff took that core that the board came up with, and we altered it in 2 different ways that we think succinctly says the same things, but adds some other things in there that might be important as well. The way we did that was we took the comments from the board from the strategic planning session. Then every department head and myself had put together our own vision statements, and we extrapolated words from both, and we figured out which key words were used by both the board and the staff, and we tried to hone in on those. So we came up, as the staff, we came up with these 2 alternatives to consider. To be the leading example of an open and efficient municipality that promotes opportunity for people and business. Or an attentive municipal organization that connects with nature, community, and commerce. The idea is we heard the board, we want to be known as business friendly and family friendly, and we believe we're there and we're working at it all the time. The other issue is we want to be attentive, and to be honest with you, the staff wants to be known as the government that's efficient. We want people to know that North Aurora is always on their side. So that being said, we kind of mixed the 2 together. So we came up with those 2 in addition to the one that the board had. And right now we're looking for feedback if the board likes any of those to move forward with one of those 3. If not, then we can bring those back to the board for further discussion. Ultimately, if you pick one tonight, I'll bring this and the strategic plan in its final form back to you for approval.
I like the 3rd one. I think it's to the point, and I think it covered everything we discussed in the strategic planning sessions.
Okay.
And it's shorter, too. Mm-hmm. I think it's more effective.
Yeah, I like number 3 as well. I think number 2 is a little wordy. It's got some nice thoughts, but yeah, I think number 3 kind of hones in on it.
Yeah, I
vote for
agree
3.
as well. It appealed to me immediately when I heard you say that, so.
And I've got to say, I like that you incorporated staff feedback too, because you guys are the ones that deal with it day in and day out. You got your fingers on the pulse of the village, so I'm glad that it's more of a collaboration instead of us just saying this is what we wanted.
I appreciate that, and that was why the word attentive was so important when we put it in, because we are customer service driven, we are family and business friendly, we work with everyone who comes to Village Hall as if, you've known them for years. We try to make people feel at home, and attentive means that not only are you attentive to their needs, but you're always working to be modernized, always trying to know what's happening for the future so that you're staying on top of things. So I will go forward number 3. Now, here's the only thing that I added since the workshop in the strategic plan itself is under community vitality, which is the first goal. We took those 3 and we basically molded a few new objectives that we knew they were all about the same thing. So what we wanted to do is create a couple new action steps to achieve. And so we put in there, under the objective, continue the village's branding and identity program, expand use of new logo and branding elements. So what we decided was we added these 3. Utilize the community sign for village promotional opportunities, which we're doing right now, and I think we have about 8 slides up right now. Continue to promote the community through the establishment of a focal point near the Fox River. We had objectives about Riverfront Park, and we had objectives about the silo, but we never specifically said we want to make the Fox River area the focal point. That we've talked about that, but it's never been written down in the plan that way. So we put that in there. And then evaluate opportunities to enhance customer service capabilities. I believe my staff does a great job with customer service, but that doesn't mean that we can't always look at different ways to expand our role as far as offering resident services and types of communication tools and whatnot. So we added those in. And that's all I have. So if the board has any questions or comments, that'd be fine. Otherwise, the plan would take it to the next board meeting, which would be March 5th for adoption. And I do want to point this out. I think at this point, what I'm going to suggest to the committee, and I would do this now, is rather than have the strategic plan every 12 to 14 months, being that we seem to be honing in on the same goals every year, which is good. That means we're all, the staff, the board are all driving towards the goals, would be to maybe have strategic planning every other year and have it after an election so that you have it when possibly you have new board members in, so there's maybe some new opinions, and do it maybe every summer or so after an election season.
Good idea.
Yeah, it is.
That sounds really good. Vision statement is great. Obviously, it as we look at it today, it can change. It can change certainly in the future, so nothing's in concrete.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this?
No.
So you've got your marching orders?
I do.
All right. Now, before we go to executive session, I want to open up to the Cub Scouts or any questions they have, or any of your leaders that might be interested in something. Well, we certainly enjoy you coming. Has somebody got something to say? You can come up and use the microphone if they like. We've had some very good ideas from the youth in our community, and have led to some very significant things. I think of the ability to put up a sign for crossing the busy street and that type of thing. So we're anxious to hear from you. Speak.
Why are you guys village trustees and not aldermans?
Well, there are several different forms of government, and ours is set up as a trustee village president form of government, as opposed to a mayoral government, which has aldermen. We could also go to representing a certain area of our community if we wanted to. Obviously, when we first started our government, we were not a very large community. And so we've grown from that point, but we have never really talked about anything else. But we're not going to change from a village president trustee form of government. There's no advantage to us to do that. So. But that's it. The trustees do the same thing. In our case, our trustees represent everybody in North Aurora. Each one of them does. And normally, if it's an alderman, he represents the area where he lives, a certain block area. But so ours is different. So each of us has to think not only about where we live, but we have to think about what's going on the other side of the river or whatever. So, and that's good in my mind. At least it's been good all the years that I've been involved with it. So at least I think it is. So, you know, we don't have people that think only of themselves. They have to think of everyone.
How much money do you usually have to spend on things?
Well, we have a budget. We're working on a budget right now, an annual budget. And we budget for our general fund, which is pay for our police, pay for our
Public Works.
all our public works. And so that's where and our staff here. And our salaries, we are so well paid.
Where do you get the money?
Our money comes from multiple sources. The big share of it comes from sales tax from all our stores, like and especially the auto mall, all the car sales, and for the groceries at Woodman's and all the other retail places. And the other comes from a real estate tax that's paid by every homeowner and every business on the property that they own. So it's based on the value of that property. So, and your mothers and fathers pay that.
Why did you replace the sign with a, that one sign that was near Sharon Care? Where Sharon Care used to be? Why did you replace it with electrical?
You mean the building? Is that what?
Mm-hmm.
Sign.
Community sign.
Oh, the new sign. Why did we do that? Oh, well, the other sign had been there since the 80s. First of all, you had to manually change it, so we'd have to send two men out in a truck with a boom on it to raise it up so they could actually put the letters in. So therefore, we didn't change it as frequently as we'd probably like to. Number one, it's taking somebody's time and effort to do that, where they could be working on other things that are much more important to us. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason was we have more messages in the community that we'd like to get out, and therefore we'd have to change that sign every day or twice a day or whatever. This allows us the ability to have all kinds of messages from the Scouts, from our churches, from different community events and whatever, schools. So we think it's going to be much more beneficial for the community. And we'd probably like to have more than just the one there, but that's just what we feel to be the most centrally located at this point in time. So it's a good question. Mm-hmm. We're proud of it, and we're happy it's up and working.
What are you going to do with the land where Sharon Care was?
That's a good question. We anticipate sometime in the future to develop that in some nature, whether it be some retail stores or some apartment buildings or something of that nature. So that's in our plans for the future. It's not something we're anxious to do right now, but that's part of our strategic plan, and we all agree on. Anybody else want to answer any questions? I'm sorry. I get so turned on, though.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, thank you.
How many and what kinds of goals do you like to complete throughout a year?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
How many roles?
How many goals?
How many goals?
Goals,
And
okay.
what kinds of goals do you
Oh.
like to complete
Oh.
throughout a year?
Okay. Well, you know, that's published on our village site on the internet. So you can go out there. As a matter of fact, everything that we do is on the internet. Our budgets, all our meetings. As a matter of fact, this meeting now is being televised, and you'll be able to see that if you go online to our North Aurora email. So I guess that.
I would
Yeah.
say that, yeah, with the goals every year, the village board sets a few new goals. And then what we do is it really depends on the year, because some goals are long-term, so they could take 5, 10, 15 years. Sometimes goals can be done right away. So the board says, we want this done, and it's something that can be done in only a couple months. So it really depends on the type of goal. But we usually try to cross off a few each year.
It's a fun time for us to talk about what we'd like to see in North Aurora. Every one of us has our own ideas of what we'd like to see, and we have to get together and agree upon what what our goals are going to be and what our strategic plan is to achieving those goals. So it's a work of not only the 7-member board, but also our very ingenious staff.
Well, I just want to say thank you guys for welcoming us to this and answering all of the questions these kids had.
That's great.
So
That's
thank you
great.
very much.
Well, I'd like
Thank
to say also that you guys fulfilled your a scout is brave coming out on a night like tonight with the weather out there. So
One word. I'm not sure that's the right one.
Well, we thank you. All right, I entertain a motion to go to executive session.
A motion to adjourn to exec session.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're going to executive session. I might explain that we go to executive session to discuss